Lawmakers are set to resolve a contentious battle for power inside the Texas House of Representatives, and they're facing pressure from outside the chamber.
I want to make sure that the Republican House elects a Republican speaker amongst themselves, and that's my goal.
We look closer at the pressure on lawmakers, the clash between the candidates, and how the outcome could shape what gets passed this session. From education savings accounts to property tax cuts, Texas lawmakers have big plans for the next session, and those plans come with big price tags.
The legislature here is in a very positive position to make some real kind of monumental decisions and life-changing decisions for Texans.
We speak to the man in charge of determining how much money is available for the next state budget. Find out how he believes lawmakers should be prioritizing their spending.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. The start of the legislative session on Tuesday should bring the resolution of a contentious battle for power in the Texas House of Representatives. Lawmakers in the chamber will vote to choose the next House Speaker. That's one of the most influential positions in Texas politics, and the Texas Attorney General is working to have his own influence on the decision. David Cook is the Republican caucus nominee for House Speaker. He needs 76 votes to win the gavel, but he's short of that number after a group of Republicans decided to back Dustin Burrows. The Lubbock Republican will need support from Democrats. That's unacceptable for a lot of Republicans, including Attorney General Ken Paxton.
I want to tell you, it is so real to be here.
Earlier this week, Paxton joined Texas Republican Party Chairman Abraham George for a series of rallies. Every location was the district of a Republican House member who has not come out in support of David Cook.
I want to make sure that the Republican House elects a Republican speaker amongst themselves, and that's my goal. And whoever they elect, it's their choice, it's not mine. I'm not making that choice. I'm not elected to make that choice. But I do want them to make a choice amongst the caucus. I think that's the only way that I can accomplish my goals and that every Republican can accomplish the goals that they were elected for.
One goal Cook supports is ending the practice of allowing Democrats to hold committee chair positions. But some Republicans backing Burrows say it's valuable to continue the tradition in the House of a bipartisan coalition.
Chairman Burrows believes that every single member of the House is an elected representative of the people, and that their voice deserves to be heard.
And Burrows isn't the only one reaching out to Democrats. Earlier this month, Cook sent a letter to House Democratic members. In it, he says, quote, "I can assure you that I have support amongst Democratic members." He also addressed education priorities backed by Democrats, like paying teachers more, overhauling or phasing out the STAR test, and transitioning from attendance-based funding to enrollment-based funding. Some Democrats are skeptical.
Passing the House is just the start. Getting an idea through the Senate and getting an idea on the governor's desk and signed into law, there are a lot of ifs there.
Meanwhile, Republican Party leaders are warning of the consequences of supporting Burrows.
We will persistently pursue the Dustin Burrows of the world, and we will find primary opponents for them, and we will beat them.
Sending a message to GOP House members to stick together and vote for Cook. We want to dig a little deeper into the race for Speaker and why it's so important. Joining us now for Insight is James Barragan, the politics reporter for the Texas Tribune, and John Moritz, the Austin American Statesman's chief politics reporter. Get ready, we're just a couple of days away, right?
Just a couple of days. It's coming down the road.
Well, I want to start with something a little bit of a bigger picture. John, why is the Speaker so important and influential in Texas?
Well, the Speaker runs the House. He appoints the committee, he sets the agenda, manages the flow of legislation, and he's got to protect his chamber from what the Senate does and work with the Senate when it's in their interest. So it's a big post, and it's that's why the race is so important that we're watching right now.
And not an easy one. James, you've been covering the Speaker battle. What are some of the key differences between Cook and Burrows, and why is this so contentious?
It's contentious because it's basically the epitome of the GOP civil war, right? There's the conservative wing of the party that wants more and more conservative legislation. They don't want to work with Democrats. And it's been a long-standing tradition of the House to appoint Democratic chairs. They believe in bipartisanship. And frankly, they need it to do things as simple as reach a quorum or pass constitutional amendments through a two-thirds vote. David Cook is the representative for the conservative wing. He has promised no more Democratic chairs. He has promised to prioritize Republican Party legislation and priorities. And Dustin Burrows is basically running on his record. He said, I've been a conservative guy all along. You can sort of take it or leave it. You can look at my record, but I am the more conservative guy. And so we're going to find out on Tuesday who Republican lawmakers actually think is the more conservative choice.
Well, looking ahead, how could the outcome of the speaker race affect what actually gets passed this session? Are there laws that have a better chance under Burrows versus Cook or vice versa? John?
That's a hard one to put your finger on. Assuming one of them would appoint a Democratic chair, that could be a roadblock along the way to some controversial legislation. Probably not on school vouchers, because the train is running on that, but maybe something that's important to Democratic constituency. But I think no matter who gets the gavel, they're going to want to move a Republican agenda, because if it is somebody working with the Democrats, he's got to show his constituents that, yeah, I'm a true believing Republican.
Anything different?
Yeah, no, I mostly agree with John. I think school vouchers, school choice, whatever you want to call it, that's going to move one way or another. It doesn't matter which Republican is in the speaker's chair. But I think the relationship with the Senate is what's going to be different. Again, it goes back to that GOP civil war. In the Senate, it's very clear that the right wing of the party has won. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick rules that basically with an iron fist. In the House, it's more about the members, about protecting the members in their districts. So I think where there is that divide of that GOP civil war, I think that's where we're going to see a difference depending on who is in the chair. If it's Burrows, it's going to be a little bit more of a contentious relationship, but I think they'll still pass a lot of conservative legislation. If it's Cook, it's going to be more smooth sailing.
So we have seen how Ken Paxton joined Republican leaders for the rallies in the districts of the lawmakers who have not supported David Cook for Speaker. Any indication if that pressure is having any effect, or is anyone actually going to change their vote?
You know, I am terrible at predictions, so I don't know. But what I did notice, you were in Leander, I think I was in Fort Worth, and what I noticed was not a group that sounded like they thought that they were going to for sure win on Tuesday. They kept saying things like, either way, it's going to be okay. If we don't win it this time, we'll get them next time, and we'll primary them in the next primary election. That doesn't inspire confidence, so I think that they would like to be a lot closer than they currently are.
Yeah, that's Ken Paxton was pretty successful during the primaries, targeting some Republican House members that he had problems with. He's trying to replicate that success now. And if David Cook, like James said, if he had the votes locked up, we wouldn't see these little events getting the grassroots involved. So I think that's really what they're trying to do is break that log jam to 76. That's one half of the chamber plus one needed to win. So that's why he's out there. We'll see what he can do with it. I think the people who show up in those rallies are right there with him. The larger question is, what about people who follow politics on Election Day and a little bit before? How excited are they about all of this, or is it just a sideshow and white noise in the background?
You follow politics. You're excited, I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
John, James, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, you know, it is just unaffordable to live in the state of Texas.
Concerns and priorities for the next session.
Constantly rising appraisals on homes and businesses are choking the property taxpayer in Texas.
We hear from Texans on both sides of the aisle, how their views merge and diverge as they look to influence what happens at the Capitol. And later, how much money will Texas lawmakers have to spend on the budget? We'll talk to the man who's in charge of determining that number.